This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Guardian Radio Today is brought to you by the Cleveland Clinic and Print.
Yo, reality. Check yourself before you wreck yourself, you know what I mean? Know thyself. Yeah. Addiction, can't control this addiction. I forget the next prescription. Gratification is instant, no matter the distance. Addiction, can't control this addiction. I forget the next prescription. Take a listen to my description. Wow.
And welcome to another edition of Guardian with your host, Pastor Dr. Cleveland W. Eneas III, also known as Kahun Anku Sarah. It is my pleasure to be here with you up until the 4 o'clock hour. It is hot. So I hope you're staying cool out there, staying safe on the streets. Congratulations to all of the graduates during this season of graduation. And I'm happy to have you here with us on 96.9 Guardian Radio, fresh news, smart talk all day. Before I jump into today's topic, let me just give you the phone lines for when the phone lines are open. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, the Family of Violence, 242-300-5720. The Guardian Radio text line is powered by BTC. That's 422-4796, 422-4796. Standard text rates do apply. Radio.com. And you can also check us out on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 or BTC Flow Channel 612. The Fair of Hair. The Fair of Hair. It's been a lot going on with hair. But in Bahamian culture, evidence of the sacredness of hair is woven through spiritual, historical, and modern legal contexts. We were saying, what? Yeah, stay with me. While official institutional policies often treat hair strictly as a matter of hygiene or professional corporate grooming, the underlying cultural consciousness views hair as an extension of identity, autonomy, and spiritual power. Of course, we know the Rastafarian legal battles and constitutional rights, as this is the most explicit legal proof of hair's sacred status in the Bahamas, whereby it lies in the historic judicial battles fought by the Rastafarian community. Of course, they take a Nazarite vow, and for the Bahamian Rastafarian, growing locks is not a stylistic fashion choice. It is a manifestation of the biblical Nazarite vow, as seen in the story of Samson, where the hair is kept uncut as a sacred covenant with God. The right to keep locks, the notable legal precedent, has been established via the Supreme Court of the Bahamas, where attorneys have successfully invoked Article 22 of the Bahamas Constitution, which guarantees freedom of conscience and religion to defend citizens' rights to keep their hair intact. For instance, legal protections have been fought to prevent prison officials or public institutions from forcibly sharing a person's locks, identifying the act as a violation of spiritual bodily autonomy. Of course, whenever in schools such as the graduation blockade at C.R. Walker, C.R. Walker always got hair problems, right? But this blockade at C.R. Walker Senior High, right, the public outcry immediately turns to the spiritual and cultural legacy of slavery. Now, let me just say, I got a problem with how y'all is pick and choose when y'all want to be spiritual and cultural. Y'all is pick and choose when y'all want to be spirit. When it's convenient, y'all ready to be spiritual and cultural. Right? We can get back to that though. Activists, historians, and frustrated parents frequently invoke Marcus Garvey and Bob Marley's famous phrase, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. See, you can't only say that when it's convenient. You got to say that all year. You can't just say that when the people holding your cap and gown. Right? But anyway, the prevailing cultural counter-argument is that natural Afro-textured hair is divinely created. Proponents argue that labeling an Afro, locks, or natural twists as unruly or unprofessional is a subconscious continuation of colonial-era trauma, where Eurocentric standards were forced upon African people to strip them of their sacred ancestral identities. Now, of course, deep within our traditional Bahamian folklore, and maybe some people may not notice, some of you may notice, but deep within the traditional Bahamian folklore and the historic practices of Obia, which of course is spiritual healing and folk magic rooted in West African traditions, hair is handled with caution and reverence. In keeping with West African, because many of us came from West Africa, right? In keeping with West African spiritual lineages, traditional Bahamian folk beliefs hold that a person's hair controls essence, energy, or spirit power. Personal spiritual frequencies, older generations of Bahamians often practice strict rituals regarding discarded hair. Severed hair from a haircut or a comb was carefully burned or hidden rather than thrown carelessly in the trash. Any of y'all remember this? This practice stemmed from the belief that if an ill-intentioned spiritual practitioner or Obia worker gained physical possession of your hair strands, they could manipulate your mind, health, or personal fortune. Of course, the reverence for hair aesthetics spans the entirety of the archipelago's human history. So throughout the existence of the Bahamas, you had the Lucayans, of course, right? The long before the European contact, the indigenous Lucayans of the Bahamas treated hair with distinct cultural gravity. Christopher Columbus's early logs noted that Lucayan men and women styled their hair with high precision, some keeping it long, like a horse's tail, others cutting it strictly across the eyebrow to indicate regional status and spiritual protection. Of course, today we have Jonkanu, where during our national festival, the focus on the head remains paramount. The massive, meticulously crafted cardboard and crepe paper headpieces are spiritually transformative, acting as a modern celebratory evolution of the sacred West African ceremonial crowns and elevated hairstyles meant to connect the wearer to ancestral spirits. So today we are not necessarily focusing on C.R. Walker, but I mean it is going to be a point of discussion based on the fact that it is a point of discussion. But C.R. Walker Senior High School, they won't allow students to graduate because of hairstyles. And I'm not sure how things have been resolved since the story broke, but I did want to talk about it because I want to talk about hair more so than C.R. Walker, right? But in any event, C.R. Walker High School is in Nassau. They sparked this heavy controversy recently when administrators, if you're not familiar, they blocked 12th grade students from receiving graduation packages and participating in ceremonies due to non-compliant haircuts. The school enforced strict grooming standards, which caused intense frustration for graduating seniors and their parents. The recent graduation conflict stemmed from long-standing Ministry of Education grooming guidelines, which require students to maintain quote-unquote neat and school-ready appearances. The crackdown on hairstyles has generated ongoing friction at the school. Of course, frustrated parents and 12th grade students protect packages and participation privileges due to haircuts that did not meet the school's strict guidelines. Now, of course, there were past incidents. Similar debates have occurred in the past, including an incident where a female student was allegedly threatened with suspension over an Afro puff deemed unruly, which sparked the Support the Puff movement that went global, right? The Ministry of Education has previously defended these rules, stating that the 20-hour of job readiness training, including professional grooming, is a requirement of the Bahamas National High School diploma to prepare students for the workforce. So this issue is an issue in many regards because we've only treated hair as something you keep clean. There's no real spiritual context to the hair. I've been an administrator, and I do understand the importance of making children keep their hair clean, because some of them won't do it, right? They won't take care of it. They won't groom themselves. So grooming is a part of life. I don't think grooming is just a part of you getting a job. Grooming is a part of life. You need to make sure your hair is combed and washed, and I'm saying or because some people twist their hair, but even the people who twist their hair, every so often they'll get it retwisted. Or for people who don't retwist their hair, I had locks. I didn't used to twist my hair, but I used to make sure my hair was clean, right? There are many people who are still searching for identity, as a lot of the colonial beauty standards still remain with us. But what happens is the reality of who we are, you can't hide it. So children are doing things instinctively, or they feel it's instinctive, and sometimes even adults, but in this case, children are wanting to grow their hair, or wanting to do things that they feel are innate to them without really understanding. And this is why we need rites of passage in this country again, not just for the students, but for the administrators as well. Because one of the things when I was an administrator that I would ask students who wanted to have hair, or if they wanted to have locks, was just simply why? Why do you want to have hair? What is it that you want to keep your hair at this length or in this style for? And they had to explain to us. And I'm grateful, Dr. Higgs, who's still over there at the Catherine International Academy, we would have discussions, and long story short, the students who obviously came from a Rastafarian background, well, that was easy. They could have their locks. They would keep them covered. And then there were others who weren't Rastafarians, who wanted to identify with their culture, some would say. And I used it as a tool to help them keep their grades up. If your grades can't stay up, your hair got to go, bro. You know what I'm saying? And of course, that's for the young men. Now, for the young women, obviously, the weave and the braids becomes an issue. And we even had that discussion because in many instances, the teachers or the administrators who are telling the children not to have the weave or the braids, they have weave, right? But it all comes down, for me, to purpose, right? I'm going to talk a bit about, first of all, we mentioned the sacredness of hair, right? And the spiritual connections of hair, right? I want y'all to be aware. I'm just going back to where I was reading about the spiritual connection of hair, right? In keeping with West African spiritual lineages, traditional Bahamian folk beliefs hold that a person's hair contains their direct spiritual essence, energy, or spirit power. Well, a lot of the hair, we're going to get to locks and all of that in just a second, but I want to bring something to your attention because in some cultures, hair is cut and sold to the hair market, right? And there's a specific term, I'm pulling it up right now, right? That many of our sisters are wearing the hair of a people who are cutting it to, some would say, release energy. You have different, as I was researching this topic, there are some people who say, well, no, it's not because the hair holds negative energy, right? The Jews, they've discussed it amongst their rabbis, and I think to this day they don't necessarily agree with their people wearing the hair. I don't really hear. Hindu temples in India collect hair from devotees and sell it to the global hair extension industry. The highly lucrative process is entirely transparent, they say, and serves a major source of revenue to fund the temple's charitable operations, local schools, and hospital networks. So these people making like $6 million a year selling hair, right? They call it tonsure, 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 right? Here's why they say they cut their hair. They say, for one, shedding vanity. In Hinduism, hair is seen as a symbol of physical beauty, pride, and ego. Shaving the head entirely, known as tonsure or mundan, is a supreme act of humility and surrender before God. The pilgrims often promise hair if a specific prayer is answered. For example, recovering from an illness. So that means you were sick before you got your hair. Finding a job means you didn't have a job before you cut your hair. Or having a child, that means you couldn't have a child before you cut your hair. That energy is with the hair. Others offer it to request safe journeys or good fortune. All right? The legend at the famous Tirumala Venkateswara temple in Andhra Pradesh myth states that a princess named Neela Devi sacrificed her own hair to repair a bald patch on the deity's head. The deity promised that anyone who offered their hair at his temple would pass those blessings on to her. So there's a global demand for this hair, right? Indian hair is considered standard, right? For high-end wigs and extensions, its fine, strong texture naturally aligns with Western and Caucasian hair types. So you have your Remy hair. Because the temple hair is shaved directly from the scalp, the root and tip of each strand remain facing the correct direction. This keeps the cuticles perfectly aligned, preventing tangles. That's the Remy hair. Okay, I learned too. That's the Remy hair. Okay? So, major temples employ hundreds of barbers working in massive halls, shaving tens of thousands of heads daily. The temple collected hair is carefully boiled, washed, dried, and sorted by length, ranging from under 5 inches to over 30 inches. Rather than selling to private dealers under the table, large temple administrations host public, transparent e-auctions. International hair processors bid millions of dollars annually for these stockpiles. The revenue, of course, does not enrich the individuals, they say. Temples use the millions generated to provide free meals for pilgrims, fund free healthcare systems, maintain local I'm just letting y'all know where y'all money going. All right? Y'all helping the wonderful people of India with free meals for the pilgrims. You're funding free healthcare systems. You're maintaining local infrastructure and operating schools and universities, because we buy a lot of hair around here. Now, the problem with it is they say they boil the hair, which, okay, fine. But there's been studies, and I know that recently, I think the duty was dropped on hair, right? And Honorable Michael Halkias, he did what he did. I just want to confirm how much it was, right? So he has great intentions, right? Bahamian government has announced a reduction in customs duty on human hair and wigs in the 2026-2027 budget communication. Prior to this adjustment, importing artificial or human hair carried a steep 45% customs duty, making high-quality units very expensive for everyday consumers and medical patients alike. So the medical patients, I understand, that's what prompted this gesture, right, of dropping the duty, right? Previously, the Bahamas Customs Department grouped hair, human hair, and wigs under cosmetic items, placing them alongside luxury beauty goods like false eyelashes and fake beards. Who's we wearing fake beards? All right, Benjamin, you ever see some of the fake beard? They'll probably be bringing in fake beards too. Anyway, but the new budget creates a brand new standalone classification that treats these imports as medical necessities rather than vanity cosmetics. So I feel the minister on him trying to help, cancer patients, etc. Right? But here's what I want to have people investigate. Right, the hair, according to evidence, is toxic. There's now clear scientific evidence that many hair extensions contain carcinogenic and endocrine disrupting chemicals. Now, what does that mean? It could give you cancer, and it messes with the hormone. That's what endocrine. Okay. The most comprehensive study to date was published in February of this year, 2026, and found that 91% of hair extension products tested contained at least one chemical linked to cancer. 91%. This is particularly concerning for Black women who make up the majority of the user base, with an estimated 70% reporting use of hair extensions in the last year. This is a study from this year. A first of its kind study by the Silent Spring Institute tested 43 hair extension products, ranging from synthetic braiding hair to human hair weaves. Researchers detected over 900 chemical signatures and identified 169 specific chemicals. The following specific carcinogens and toxins have been identified. So there's benzene, a known carcinogen linked to acute myeloid leukemia. There's styrene, linked to an increased risk of leukemia and lymphoma. There's naphthalene, listed as a carcinogen under California's Proposition 65. There is phthalates, or DEHP, an endocrine disruptor linked to reproductive harm and cancer. There's also lead, a neurotoxin found in 90% of samples. In 90% of the samples, there was lead, causes kidney and cardiovascular damage. Okay, there's also something called organotins, hormone disruptors found in 10% of samples. Levels exceeded European safety limits. So why these hair extensions are posing a risk is because, unlike a shampoo you rinse off, hair extensions remain in direct contact with your body for long periods. The associated pathways. So here's how these chemicals can get into the body, right? So prolonged dermal contact. Dermal means the skin. Extensions sit directly against the scalp, face, and neck for weeks or months, allowing chemicals to be absorbed directly through the skin. There's also inhalation of toxic fumes. When extensions are heat-styled, blow-dried, curled, or boiled, they can release volatile organic compounds and carcinogenic vapors that are inhaled. Then there's the hand-to-mouth transfer. Touching your hair can transfer chemical residues to your hands, leading to accidental ingestion when you put your hand in your mouth. Then there's the non-toxic claims and human hair. Now, you might assume that the expensive hair, and that's them cheap hair. No. They're talking about the expensive hair too. You may assume that expensive hair or products labeled non-toxic are safer alternatives, but the evidence suggests caution is still warranted. So there's misleading labels. The study found that products labeled non-toxic are not regulated, meaning any company can use the term without verification. Some non-toxic labeled products still contain hazardous chemicals. There's human hair is not risk-free. Surprisingly, some samples of raw or virgin human hair contain more hazardous chemicals than synthetic versions. This is likely because the hair is treated with pesticides, dyes, preservatives during processing. Now, I know y'all ain't gonna stop. You're like, yeah, okay, we can pray over it. Let me let me give you all some suggestions on how you could help yourselves for those people who just won't stop. You're addicted. Right? So it's difficult to find safe products in an unregulated market, but you can take steps to significantly lower your risk. So before you install the braids, wash them. Since research on methods like apple cider vinegar, soaks, so there's apple cider vinegar soak. You could do the research on this to see how to do it. All right. They say it's inconclusive. The best practice is to wash the extensions thoroughly with a mild detergent or shampoo before installation to remove surface chemical residues. So wash that hair, right? Limit the heat styling. Avoid using high heat on your braids or weaves. I guess you gotta stay inside because it's hot, right? And this can release, as this can release toxic fumes, and opt for the heatless styling methods. Look for transparency. Seek out brands that voluntarily disclose all their ingredients rather than those with vague labels like synthetic fiber. And then, of course, consider extension breaks. While exposure is a concern, some chemicals, like phthalates, leave the body relatively quickly once exposure stops. Taking breaks between installs can reduce your body's burden. Okay, so the beauty industry remains largely unregulated, leaving consumers responsible for their own safety. So I know you're going to stop. So these are some tips that you can put into play. All right, for now, the most proactive approach is to wash all extensions before use and monitor your scalp for signs of irritation like itching or burning. All right, I'm going to stop there and just go to some text, go to the phone line. That's not the full extent of the conversation, but I wanted to start with that because, we talking about graduation and children not being able to walk, but administrators got this hair in them too, and I don't want nobody getting sick. You understand? Guardian Radio today. Call you live.
Hey, what's up?
I'm great, man. How you doing? Thanks for calling.
Thank you, man. Excellent. Well, some would say you mansplaining.
I'm mansplaining.
Women in business.
Well, it was a study done. I don't know if it was men who was doing the study or women, but I know it was scientists.
Well, I from the meeting of minds, there's some consensus on the internet, in popular culture that says men don't care about these things. To be honest,
yeah, we don't get with a woman because, but you see her weave, but you see her extension, like that ain't really what we do.
Yeah, so you might have to do your thing and go to the root cause of this, because clearly if the women ain't doing it for us,
who they doing it for?
Exactly. Who they doing it for? I mean, I am not going to try and mansplain.
Yeah, they got to explain that, Darcy.
To that, but to be honest with you, I think me and one of my colleagues was having this conversation the other day about the traditional woman.
Right.
I don't know. We know that society, the system, Babylon, and whoever, has been on a mission to destroy the black man.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess as a collateral damage, the black woman has been disenchanted with us. But when you bring up stuff like cosmetics, extensions, makeup, and stuff like that, these are made by predominantly, and I don't want to be controversial, homosexual Caucasian men and corporations. And some may say, it goes back into the Egyptian time where we used to wear makeup and tribal and stuff like that. But those were used for different purposes.
Yeah,
so they say.
We can get
and
into
even
that.
in the Bible speaks on a woman who, I guess, conceals her image or her face. But the point that I'm trying to make is, if I'm looking for a man and a man doesn't explain to a woman that, hey, honey, I love you. I love your natural form. You don't need to do all these things.
Right.
Maybe that is a testament to her soul, and it will resonate that she could spread the word, because it's nothing that we could tell women that they can listen to us and start doing.
No, women are very eagle-eyed when it comes to each other.
Yeah.
That's the best way. That's the best way I could mansplain it. They're eagle-eyed when it comes to each other.
Yeah. So I just want you to just delve a little bit deeper into that topic of, and historically, biblically, why do women feel the need to conceal their natural beauty.
Yeah, we don't get into
Thanks for taking that call.
Yeah, man. Thanks for calling. It's Taxi say you talking about hair? Talk about the hair and now. well, Texter, we talk about the hair now. We literally have a story in the paper in the news room where children were not being allowed to graduate because of hair. All right, we've had unlimited hair conversations already. But if we had unlimited hair conversations, why we got the same problems? Why is the result not changing? Because this hair conversation that we having today, I haven't heard it before. All right, wow, all the possible topics and you on hair. Yeah, I guess you want to. All right. I hope you also address the issue of the airfare among women who refuse to wear their natural black African hair but want to wear European wigs along with these alien-looking eyelashes to look like I'm a teacher. Okay, the teacher at C.R. Walker High School. All right, please stop with the sensationalism of our school. I'm not sensationalizing your school. Your school is global when it comes to hair. You need to get educated on your school. You're not doing us any good. All the students graduated from last week, Friday. The graduation was powerful and all is well. There's no need to stir up nonsense. C.R. Walker has no different uniform rules than any other government or even private school. Why is C.R. Walker always in the news? That's what you need to figure out, teacher at C.R. Walker. I started the show by saying the point of the show is not to talk about C.R. Walker, but for some reason, C.R. Walker every couple of years just end up in the news because you're all talking about hair. I don't hear other schools coming up like C.R. Walker. What's that about? Why do kids have to explain anything? My two boys have long hair, and the school has never questioned them or me. I don't know what school they're at, but all schools, like C.R. Walker, just love to harass children about hair. I don't know. I'm happy they graduated. But I'm sad to know that they had to go through all of that just to graduate. Let's go back to the phone lines here on Garden Radio today. Call you live.
Hey, Uncle.
How you doing, man? Thanks for calling.
Yeah, man. You think because C.R. Walker is close to the government house, they trying to keep that colonial
They need to explain that. It was a whole support the Puff movement that went global.
Yeah.
Right? Out of C.R. Walker. So I know what this teacher talking about. Like, I trying to stir up something. Y'all need to figure out why y'all ain't fixed that from years ago. Years ago. Yeah, go ahead.
You remember Sesame Street?
Of
Miss
course.
Piggy?
Which one? Miss Piggy?
Yes,
of
Miss
course.
Piggy.
You mean Kermit Gal?
Kermit Gal, right?
Yes.
Now tell me if you right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me if the fashion world when it relates to women today in modern day Miss Piggy, because when I was a child, Miss Piggy used to come on with her hair purple one day, green the next day, and she's a pig now, but she wearing wigs, right? And then she had one of these those long eyelashes. I don't know if you could remember these.
Yeah, yeah, Hans Snuffleupagus.
Yeah, but Hans Snuffleupagus. Right. And look around what we see today.
Yeah.
The same thing. We seeing women walking around with stuff. That's even a good name for that. Snuffleupagus eyelashes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And Miss Piggy, colorful hair wigs every different day. I had a neighbor, I knew of a lady who used to go to the hairdresser every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Every Saturday religiously, Uncle. And she is no longer with us today because the chemicals brought that to an end.
Wow.
Right? Need to be conscious and be proud of who they are because there's nothing more beautiful than a woman being natural.
Amen.
A natural black woman is the most beautiful thing on the face of the earth.
I agree, brother.
You know, so I can't figure. My mind is boggled, especially when I see the black women with the black complexion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they go and they just get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know what's going on with our people, but our ladies, you stick with the naturalness of you because there's nothing more beautiful than a black woman, natural skin color, and natural hair. Have a nice day.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that endorsement. And I pray all the women out there, I hope something's seeping in, because every so often we are going to have this conversation. Because unfortunately, we do have a fear of hair. We scared of our own hair. We can get to the brothers too. It ain't only the women. We can talk with that one lock hanging off your head now. We can talk about that too before the end of the show. But there is a fear of hair. And we could be back right after this. Keep it locked.
Scrolling and swiping before I brush my teeth. Probing and liking before my cup of tea. Check how much new followers I get from last week. Then I post a picture when I know the likes I go peak. Addiction, can't control this addiction. I forget the next prescription. Gratification is instant, no matter the distance. Addiction, can't control this addiction.
Turn a trip to Burger King Nassau into a galactic adventure with the Mondo and Grogu Whopper Combo, featuring special shake fry, hunter in training, or just here for your way. Burger King Nassau has everything Mandalorian and Grogu related you could want. Grab the toys, the mugs, the crowns, and your crew, and head on down to BK and celebrate the Mandalorian and Grogu adventure with Burger King Nassau. This is the way.
Guess who's back?
It's that time again for the 31st annual Michael Scudery Peace on the Streets Basketball Classic.
Bring it on now, let's go.
Whether you're a player or a fan, you don't want to miss this one. The action starts July 13th at the Hope Center. Log on to peaceonthestreets.com and register.
Come on, everybody, we're going!
That's the Peace on the Streets Basketball Classic, where we shoot hoops instead of guns.
Game time.
Always on the go? Missed the show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fun talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
At Cleveland Clinic, you set your course, not cancer. So when your journey takes an unexpected turn, you seek out the experts who've conquered it before, and you forge new paths to help fight cancers. For every route to a cure, for every care in the world. See how we're innovating cancer care at Cleveland Clinic today.
You try to rest, roll with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers. For window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it. Just give us a call. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361. Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Can't control this addiction. I forget the next prescription. Gratification is instant, no matter the distance. Addiction.
And we're back here on Guardian Radio today, 96.9. Fresh news, smart talk all day. My name is Dr. Cleveland W. News III, also known as Kahun Ankus. Fear of hair. Yes, we have a fear of hair. Fear of hair and a fear of hair. H-A-I-R, fear of hair. Good day, Dr. Aeneas. And while we are a part of a village, we try to ensure that standards are kept. And although some young people are defiant to stand out, they can refrain until they are free to do the same after the 12th year. Let them become chiefs of the challenges that are reflected by the wider society, and for them to become entrepreneurs with that purpose. The hair is not to be worshipped. Let's change our mindsets to better this society. I agree with you, Texter. Again, I think it's important that the discussion is had so that we understand purpose. I know for my boys, I let them grow their hair because I tell them, I don't know if you're going to have hair when you get older. Because what has happened to us is they tell you cut your hair, get a job, and then by the time is you old enough to grow your hair, you're going bald. I don't know if they're going bald. So I say, y'all plait your hair, twist your hair, you know, as long as I have anything to do with it, you're able to do that. Now, if you know, you find yourself in a predicament where you may have to cut it, then you better be able to explain why you got it. You understand? This text says, Uncle, good afternoon, Uncle. Do you know if some chemicals are added to the hair? There are preservatives that are added to the hair. All right? And that's the problem, right? If they're saying that they're boiling it, but they ain't saying what they boiling it in. You understand? And so they want to get it to market, and they want it to look a certain way. By the time as you get it, or the consumer gets it, and so you know, unfortunately, these chemicals are in the hair, right? Miss Piggy was never on Sesame. She only appeared on the Muppet Show. Never. Man, I gotta research that. Thank you, Dex, though. But we know she is Kermit Gallo. We didn't know that. Yeah. Please talk about men who allow their natural hair to grow. Then they add extensions, hair pieces to it. Lastly, the men put a pair of earrings in their ears. Now, see, this is where we going next with the conversation for men. It ain't only women, right? They got dudes with fake locks and covering up bald spots and stuff like that. And of course, the same chemicals, if they are extensions, are in the hair that the men are wearing as well, right? So that's not just a warning for women, but men as well. And then even if, you know, if you got children, you got a young child, you know, that hair is rubbing up on the child, or the child putting, I've seen babies take hair and put it in their mouth, right? The chemicals on the hair. But for African men, hair has historically served as a critical culture marker, status symbol, and spiritual connection. Long before colonial boundaries were established, male hairstyles were intricately designed to signal specific milestones, societal roles, and military prestige. So hair definitely, from our cultural roots, have purpose. Right? There's a pre-colonial visual language, is what it is referred to as. In pre-colonial Africa, a man's hair functioned as a visible resume. Right? It communicated his exact place within his community through structured styling codes. We had styling codes. We had a warrior status among the Maasai of East Africa. Young warriors called Morans wore intricate ochre to signal their military status and readiness to protect the community. There was leadership and age. Elders and chiefs frequently wore highly sculpted crests, wore elaborate headpieces, or incorporated clay and beads to project authority, wisdom, and political rank. Okay? Now you're going to see this when we go to the book of Isaiah chapter 3. This was stripped from us. Right? There's the regional and tribal identity. Subgroups like the Karamo people of Nigeria were instantly recognized by a shaved head left with a single unique tuft of hair on top. So you would see men today in our society with a hair on the back or just on the side. Right? This is in the gene, right? But theirs is on the top. Right? We're going to talk about the one on the side in just a second. There's rites of passage. Hair was central to transitioning from youth to adulthood. Specific shaving patterns or the growth of first braids marked a young man's official initiation into manhood. So we want to educate these children. I hope the teacher from C.R. Walker is still listening, but we don't have no rites of passage. So because we're not addressing some of the genetic needs of the children, they're wanting to grow their hair and don't know why. And unfortunately, the administration doesn't know why, so it becomes a problem. Because we need to have proper rites of passage. We need to understand culturally, genetically, spiritually, why hair is important. But we ignore it and we only talk about neat schoolboy, neat schoolgirl haircuts or hairstyles. So heavily documented, shaving patterns held equal weight for African men. So you had pre-colonial fades. Fades ain't something that this is contemporary only. Early European explorers, including those visiting the Kingdom of Benin in West Africa, documented diverse male hairstyles featuring shaved sides with sculpted geometric shapes or braids left strictly on top. But if you come to school like that, you can't go to school like that. Why? Because the school don't even know why you're doing it. Because the school ain't been educated. The school don't even know why. Huh? The spiritual and life transitions. Completely shaving the head was a profound ritual. Many ethnic groups, such as sections of the Nguni in South Africa, mandated total head shaving as a vital part of their mourning process or to mark a spiritual rebirth. As a priest, if I have to do a funeral, an Atonist funeral, I have to shave. This is culture, right? Colonial rule and missionary pressures systemically suppress traditional grooming practices. The caller earlier was asking us to get a little deeper. This is where it's coming from. Colonial rule and missionary pressures systemically suppress traditional grooming practices, labeling them uncivilized. You see it there now? To dismantle African social hierarchies. So we trying in our best way, the children, though they don't know why they want to grow their hair, but there's something in them. There's something that is being ignored. There's something that we're not paying attention to that is saying, they're screaming out that they want their social hierarchies back. Culture survived, heavily influencing modern black male hair culture. So when the Europeans came, they wanted to get rid of it. They want your son to walk around with a Caesar, big homosexual Caesar haircut. The high top fade, popularized globally in the 1980s and 1990s, the high top fade mimics historical West African sculpting techniques. The precise geometry of the fade blends historical pride with modern urban identity. Then you have locks and twists. Modern protective styles worn by black men today directly trace back to the sacred, natural textures and lock styles used by ancient African warriors and spiritual leaders. So, hair has to be addressed in school so that we have an appreciation for why the hair is being worn the way it's being worn. And we could stop putting all of these chemically laced extensions into the hair, causing us to get sick. Let's go back to the phone lines here on Guardian Radio today. Call you live.
Uncle.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for calling.
You really getting me upset again, you know.
Go ahead, man.
Listen here. I ain't got no hair on my head now. But see, everything, I mean, like, it's almost as if every topic that you start comes back to our old little phrase we be using all the time.
What's the phrase?
Neo-colonial framework.
Yeah, man. You can't get away from it.
Hey, I don't think we understand. See, we don't understand, right? The same fellows who gave us our Constitution.
Yep.
The same fellows who gave us our Constitution. I see. I'm trying to, like, preach this gospel, right? Like, it's like a software program. Only certain things will come out of that framework. Only certain things can come out of that software program. And we don't, we see, glimpses of it every 5 years, when the guys swear allegiance to those people.
Yeah.
And not to us, but we need to remind ourselves daily of exactly where we are.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But enjoying your program as always, my brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you listening.
Stay good.
Yes, indeed. This text says, Uncle, before you rip us women to shreds, we always under attack. No, I'm not attacking you all, man. the pods, the panty liners, the water, the air, the food, everything has poison in it to throw our hormones off balance, to throw our hormone balance off, causing fibroids, which causes the deficiency of iron, which causes alopecia, and occupation causes the hair loss. Most of us are suffering from that in the Bahamas. Something is seriously wrong. They are spraying us in the sky on the mosquitoes when the intentions are far more devious. I think this is another one. Okay, so 100% texter, and definitely this is not about beating up women, because you see I talk about men now too, right? It's just to bring awareness, because if we are not aware of the purpose behind a hairstyle, we definitely, you could talk about, holding people's graduation gown and whatever because of a hairstyle, but schools are supposed to educate us about who we are, not just align us with a colonial curriculum. You understand? And that's what's unfortunately happening. Let's see. Good day, Dr. Aeneas. Being well-groomed never killed my pa. Let me make this bigger. Being groomed never killed my pa. Let us see family life with purpose. Let men look like man and women look like women. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. Emphasize these things. Biblical reminders are important. But I think we've done that. And I think that if you do that outside of the context of your culture, I don't just mean your Bahamian culture, that's the fruit, but the African culture, which is the root, right? We just read where hairstyles were an indication of manhood, right? Where some hairstyles were removed as an indication of manhood, all right? Or warriorhood, if you will, right? But we are so colonialized in our framework that unfortunately this doesn't mean much to us. And so we ultimately attack the so-called fads that we see coming up. Now, should boys and should girls have to some more reason behind it other than that's just the rules? Because that ain't gonna fly. But if you have them in a rite of passage, and the ancestors and the community and the group of people responsible for them, and they could see the love and feel the love for them, they gonna want cut their hair, they gonna want put it in a certain style because they gonna want to be a part of the community. So we can't just have rules out of context. We're gonna go to the news, we're gonna pay some bills, and then we'll be back with more Fair of Hair here on 96.9 Guardian Radio, fresh news, smart talk all day. Back after this.
Forget the next prescription. Take a listen to my description. No more. Sucrose, fructose, granulated. Open at the cupboard where me have it.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM.
Can't control this addiction. I forget the next prescription. Gratification is instant, no matter the distance. Addiction. Can't control this addiction. I forget the next prescription.
And we're back here on Guardian Radio today with your host, Pastor Dr. Cleveland W. Aeneas III, also known as Kahun Anku Sarah, talking about the Fair of Hair and a little bit more, because I also want to dive into the importance of the rite of passage, right? This time of year is graduation time, right? And we celebrate our graduates. My son graduated this year as well. And yes, of course, I'm celebrating him, my godson, and many others graduated this year. But this idea of it just being a celebration, right, is we have to focus so much on the celebration and the prom because we lack community, right? See, rites of passage, which in traditional African societies like the Yoruba. So when we say Yoruba, we're talking about people who settled in places like Baintown and Fox Hill, etc. The Akan, the Iwe, right? We have Igbo people here. We have people from Congo here, right? In our genes, these people are here, right? We don't celebrate rites. African International Academy celebrates it. We just had a rites of passage last Friday. Ceremony was last Friday, right? But the Ministry of Education now needs to look into rites of passage, okay? Because they are systemic, educational, and spiritual processes divided into 3 strict phases. There's separation, which is the leaving of the childhood community. So if you have an opportunity to watch a movie like Roots, there are other movies where the elders will come for the child. We've come for our child, they'll say. You've come for our child. But you have to obviously these elders in order to release it with these elders, right? And they will be gone for however many weeks to be trained on how to properly be socialized into manhood and womanhood, right? Then there's a transition, all right, or liminality, isolation, intense physical, mental testing, and learning tribal secrets, history, and the roles, right? Some children didn't make it back. I always tell my students, I say, your rites of passage, some of y'all is just catching the bus and walking to and from school. The river that you have to cross is a river of cars. The alligators you have to worry about now are human alligators, right? And then there's the incorporation, the returning to the village as a fully recognized adult with new rights and responsibilities. So in a rites of passage, if in certain communities, if you see a rite of passage, I don't care how old you are, you would not sit with the adults. Your voice would not be heard as an adult until you went through a rite of passage, right? So the core importance of the rites of passage is the death of selfishness, one of the main things. The ritual, it symbolically kills the child. So someone was asking me to talk about the biblical principles of when I was a child and I spoke as a child, et cetera, and then when you become an adult, you put away childish things. This is where it's coming from, right? The ritual symbolically kills the child, metaphorically, who lives only for themselves. But we still have a lot of adults who function like that because they never been through this process. That's why they don't understand that, hey, the school has some rules, or these rules affect everybody. If it was being taught in that way, and the parents were on board with it because the parents were a part of the community and they too would have had to go through this system, then we wouldn't have the problems we've had at C.L. Walker and other places. Right? So kills the child, metaphorically kills the child who lives only for themselves and gives birth to the adult who lives to protect and sustain the community. That's why we got so many selfish-minded people today. Saying just about here. It also structured mentorship. Elders pass down ancestral wisdom. Today we scared our journey. Or the children telling you old and you wash up. They don't want to hear from you. But rites of passage gave you structured mentorship. Elders pass down ancestral wisdom, survival skills, ethical codes, and spiritual practices directly to the younger generation, ensuring the society survives. And then there was the preventing of identity crisis, which we are in the midst of. Because the community explicitly defines when and how a person becomes an adult, individuals rarely suffer from existential confusion about their societal worth or role. You'll know when you're a man. You'll know when you're a woman. We'll tell you. You would have certain ceremonies. You would have passed through certain initiations to know if you're a man or a woman. We've lost that. That's why we could be back and forth with children. You're supposed to be back and forth with no children. If the hair is supposed to cut, that's a community rule. That's bigger than the school. But all we doing is bringing down the rules from massa, and the children don't respect that. You understand? So if we were to bring something like this back into the fore, then you could combat the youth identity crisis and the crime. The modern Bahamian youth, particularly young, what it means to be a man or a successful adult. Without positive, structured community rights, many turn to street gangs. See, so the genes are still calling for it. The genes still want the structure, but they get the structure from the gangs, the block culture, criminal behavior. These are all unofficial rite of passage to prove their bravery or adulthood. They still want to prove. They want to prove that they're a man. They want to prove that they're a woman. Introducing Afrocentric rites of passage programs provides a positive control environment where discipline, emotional intelligence, and accountability are taught by positive male and female elders. So now you know why the hair is what it is. Now you understand. This is what we do in our. And when the outsider comes in to tell you why you should do or you shouldn't do, you could say, well, thank you, but no thank you. Thank you, but no thank you. Because our community doesn't roll like that. This text says black women shouldn't wear white women wigs and black men shouldn't wear the white man suit. You got to make sure that's the white man suit, though. The white man and teeth plenty things. But I hear your text, though. Let's go back to the text lines here. Good afternoon. Many of these persons who are wearing these hair must learn how to groom their hair, smelling nice and fresh. Amen. Or cut them off. Smelly is no good. Ba-boom. Our children now control their parents. Exactly. Because we unfortunately have forgotten about the reality of a rites of passage. Can your institution set up a program to accommodate a rite of passage? I know you do it for your students, but how about opening the same for whosoever will? Well, we're working on it. Definitely working on it because it's needed, right? It's needed. So I'm putting something together to present to our Minister of Education and others because we started to work on it years ago and we were so busy with the school, we didn't present it to the wider community, but that is definitely something that's in the works and you brought it up, so definitely we're gonna look at it. Parents takes their children lead, and see, so we backwards. You understand? That's what Isaiah chapter 3 is talking about. Rites of passage. It strengthens the extended family and the village structure. The traditional Bahamian ethos, rooted in the African proverb, "It takes a village to raise a child," has faced erosion due to rapid modernization, economic prism. Reintroducing the concept of rites of passage revitalizes the role of community elders, church leaders, and neighbors, holding them collectively responsible for guiding the next generation rather than leaving parenting entirely to single households. That's what's happening. There's also the cultural reclamation and pride. Historically, Eurocentric education and colonial history marginalized African heritage. So now we're paying the price for having marginalized African heritage in the Caribbean, associating it with shame or lack of sophistication. Embracing African rites of passage helps Bahamians decolonize their mindsets. It connects them to a rich history of advanced social engineering, math, science, and spiritual philosophy that predates slavery, boosting national pride and self-worth. And you want to know where Jesus fits into that? He went through rites of passage as well. That's why he could be in the temple at 12 years old, talking to the elders and the doctors of the law. He couldn't do that if he was a child. He had to have gone through rites of passage. Yes? It also preserves Bahamian intangible heritage. Elements of African rites of passage survive subversively in Bahamian culture and are still visible today. So Jonkanu is one aspect of rites of passage. Originally an African festival It allowed enslaved people to temporarily return to their ancestral spiritual masking and warrior dances. That's what the Jonkanu spirit is. It remains a vital communal space for discipline, brotherhood, and artistic expression. So when you have a Christostilian, right, and his brother who are working through Jonkanu with having purpose in life, that's a rite of passage. There's also large culture and friendly societies. Traditional Bahamian burial societies and secret lodges like the Elks or the Masons, they mirror African secret societies, utilizing hidden rituals, strict hierarchy, and community welfare structure to transition members into respected civic leaders. So as much as you want to run from it, you're going to run right back to it. You understand? So the reality then is that we're having this identity crisis because we've from the realities of our societies. So there are young men today who, and you may have seen this and you may wonder, why are they doing this, right? But they have one lock or several locks hanging off of the back of their head or the side of their head. And you look at it and you say, but that don't make no sense. That looks stupid. Why? I used to have a character when we did The Spot, which was an improv comedy show. I had a character called the White Jockey Man. And the White Jockey Man had a lock coming out the side of his hair, but it was perm because he was embracing his European culture, right? And I knew why I did it, but I never said anything, until now. It's called the Lock of Khonsu, Khonsu, the Lock of Khonsu, right? And historically, they would call it the side lock of youth, and it's one of the most recognizable and spiritually significant hairstyles in ancient Egypt, or Kemet. All right, it consisted of a completely shaved head, left with a single long tress or intricate braid growing from the side of the skull, typically the right side, and curling or spiraling at the head. It's called the Lock of Khonsu, Khonsu. Please look it up, because you're looking at the young brothers who may be gang affiliated. They want rites of passage. That's what they want. You understand? They trying to prove their manhood, but the community has been stripped of all means for them to prove their manhood and to prove their womanhood. And so guess what they doing? They watching TV and they watching social media and they say, oh, this what man is do, and they trying to do it. Oh, this what woman is do, and they trying to do it. And we're losing generations. So the style takes its name from Khonsu, the ancient Tamaraic, ancient Egyptian. They say it's a moon god of time, healing, and fertility. This is, of course, the European explaining it. We had 4 types of societies in ancient Africa. You had solar societies, you had lunar societies, you had stellar societies, and you had earth societies. Okay? So when they're saying it's an Egyptian moon god of time, it's saying that these schools or these universities, they studied, just like how farmers will study the moon and they'll have a farmer's almanac and you'll know when to plant and when not to plant, or the best time to plant, right? He was a part of this type of society, all right? And because they understood when to plant, they could grow the type of herbs that were necessary for healing and fertility. So they'll say, he's the Egyptian moon god of time, healing and fertility, which makes no sense if you don't understand the actual culture that goes along or comes with it, the science that comes with it. But you would learn this, and I've been through rites of passage. So I'm not suggesting that anything be done that I haven't done. I've been through rites of passage. You understand? Now, this Khonsu, a scientist, wasn't just an Egyptian god. He was a scientist, right? He was revered as a divine child of the sun god Amun. Now, when they say the sun god Amun, again, you have these 4 types of societies, each of them having different universities. And there's a priesthood of Amun. And that priesthood of Amun was so powerful that it still lingers today in monotheistic prayers, whereby the Hebrews end their prayers by saying Umain, the Christians end their prayers by saying Amen, the Muslims end their prayers by saying Amin, all coming out of Amun. And of course, his mother was Mut, her mascot being the vulture. You understand? But this is what you would learn in Rites of Passage. Let's go back to the phone lines here on Guardian Radio today.
A pleasant good evening, Mr. Inyas, Dr. Inyas. How you doing?
I'm great, man. Thanks for calling. Thanks for listening.
Sparky, yeah.
Hey, Sparky.
You know, I always thank you very much for allowing me to talk, because most of the time, you and I seem to talk a different language that most of the people talk about. They basically want to talk politics, PLP, and that. But you and I, we talk about culture, we talk about family, we talk about historical events, and we talk about where we came from and where we going and all this kind of thing. And most of them, all they want to talk about every day is the PLP and politics and down Bay Street. And they don't want to talk about where we going. Where we going, Miss Dr. Inyas. From now to the future. When we talk about your family and my family, when they say Sparky talking the same thing over and over, they don't understand that all of us have our different views of life and how we want to express what we want to do. What Dr. Inyas talk about, what Dr. Sparky talk about might be different, but we agree to disagree.
And this is the community.
If you don't agree with them, they cut you off, they block you and do all kind of things. You don't do that.
See, in Rites of Passage, Sparky.
Aaron Green don't do that. A lot of other talk shows, if you ain't talking about, they block you. They tell the producer, don't let Sparky call my show.
I tell Sparky go all through, man.
The thing is, what we talking about is where are we going as a Commonwealth of the Bahamas?
Where you see us going, Sparky? Where you see us going? Where do you see us going as a Commonwealth of the Bahamas?
Right now, hold on, I always say that I am 75 years old.
Yeah.
I've gone through those things, what you talk about, as a fellow with me, and he had 2 shoes, one for church and one for school.
Yes, sir.
And when you come from school, you walk up and down the street, from Madeira Street, the Valley, East Street, all the way barefoot. In the heat of the sun, walking on the side of the road in the sun, because the tar road was so hot.
Yeah. Wow.
When we played marbles and fly, we did all kind of things to keep us entertained, because we had no cellular. We had no home phone. Our parents, they had no car. We just had to keep ourselves busy, moving forward.
Yeah.
The black man, the Prime Minister Finland told us about all the stuff the white man did to the black man. Then Finland came in power. For 25 years, he became a dictator. Wow. And then the Bahamian in 1992, so we had enough of you. The Hubert Ingram came in, changed us again. Perry Christie came in, changed us again. Hubert Ingram came back, changed us again. Now Brave, then Minnis came in, changed us again. COVID hit, hurricane hit, now Brave here. Now we say this is our savior now, second time. Now where we going?
Yeah.
Can we go through the same thing for 5 years again? If we talk bad, but I'm a PLB from I was 21. I'm 75.
Yeah.
If I say anything bad, I can get victimized. If I say anything good, I can get a contract.
Wow.
You understand? What are we doing to our future? Because most of our leaders, lawyers, don't move from East Street to Old Fort Gate. You can't call them no more. You can't see them no more. And then all of a sudden, here comes election time 5 years from now. They on your front porch want your vote.
Yeah.
And we do it over and over again. And when I say what I have to say on Guardian, then they won't block me. Block me. But I can talk. Have a good day.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Sparky. Yeah, see, in rites of passage, right, one of the things we learned, right, you couldn't speak without first asking for permission because your speech was seen as one of the highest forms of intelligence. And they understood that speech could influence the community for the good or for the bad. So you had to have permission to speak. Because if they knew you was somebody who wasn't responsible, they said, no, you don't have permission to speak. Go sit down. This text says, in my high school, we weren't allowed to wear makeup or weave, but I see kids wearing. That is wrong, and kids with real long hair are being told to cut it. We are under attack. Remember, school curriculum and rules were made by those same evil oligarch Rothschild people who used to eat us like Christopher Columbus. I can literally see the change in young people's physical bodies developing. Yes, you would learn this in rites of passage. Uncle, good afternoon. Thought Sparky didn't want to talk about politics. Well, he had to explain where we going, and, we definitely in a political world. African rites of passage for Bahamians, though, that's why we should identify completely as Africans, as it is our true identity, or is it not? Well, Dexter, you have to accept the fact that you're not going to just be African tomorrow. So if you have a rites of passage program, if you start it now, learning about the African, way of life. Many parents are out to breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snack too when it comes to training their children. Many of them are lost as a bat. These parents are controlled by demonic forces, and their children fall in the same trap in their entire life. Yeah, but demonic forces are disguised as church and government and school. Y'all ain't ready for that conversation. Let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, you're live. Caller going once. You there, caller?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for calling.
All right, and you?
Great, man.
Good. Yeah, so Sparky said he didn't want to talk with politics, but that's the first thing he jumped on.
I asked him in all fairness where he see the country going. So that's when the conversation shifted to politics.
So here's where I think the country is going.
Please, thank you. Mm-hmm.
The country is back to where it was before, where you have, with the present government, Brave Davis, where you have 10% of this country is getting benefits, and the other 30% is getting victimized, and then the other 60% isn't getting anything at all but rum and food.
Wow.
So that's how I feel where we're at.
Wow. And so, how do we change?
Hello?
I'm listening. I said, how do we change that?
Pardon me?
How do we change that?
Well, I can tell you how we can change that. We got to pray and ask God, and then we got to submit ourselves to proper authorities, and the religious leaders need to speak up. How much, man? Huh?
Yeah, we're listening.
9. And the religious leaders need to speak up. So people like you all need to speak up on certain things that can help our country. Back in the days, we had mentors. We don't have so many of those anymore. You understand?
Yeah.
And I feel we need to get back to the mentorship. The mentorship means people who we love and respect being able to give us good advice.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I want to share this with you. Because it isn't just about jumping on this radio station and trying to get on.
Yeah.
What it's about is trying to empower the Bahamian people.
Amen.
I would hope that government has empathy for the poor people, because it hasn't been easy.
Yeah.
Going in stores and the gas station has been difficult.
Yeah.
I can imagine what's happening with some people who don't even have a job.
Yeah.
Just drove, and ladies come by my house. Looked like she out of her mind. She was so hot, I had to give her some water before she go on, and me and my wife dropped her home. You know why? She looked like she was out of her mind and frustrated. You know why? Because things are so rough. Parents ain't got time for their children, and the children is being neglected, and there's no mentors. Let us get back to mentoring. If you see somebody on the side of the road, try help them. Take a few minutes and talk with them. let's show each other love. Thank you, my brother.
I appreciate those comments, because, again, that's why the community is so, you understand, we've gotten into this hyper individualism, right? Who is the best this and who's the best that? But collectively, right? How do we become the best collectively? You understand? Because if not, we end up in situations where when things do get tough, and they will get tough, if you don't have a community to lean on, you could find yourself feeling like you can go at your head. Dr. Aeneas, thank God for Sparky. I love to listen to him every day because he is a realist. Please let Sparky dump the good, bad, and the ugly. Yes, indeed. Yeah, man, we definitely, we can keep Sparky in the loop. Do you think that Moses used Sumerian tablets to write the Torah? Well, in the book of Acts chapter 7, verse 22, it says that Moses was learning all the wisdom of the Egyptians. So it wasn't Sumerian tablets, it was Egyptian or Tamarian. It was, in fact, the Shabaka stone, a portion of the Shabaka stone. This says Genesis seems to be a copy of an older epic. Also, what should we believe about the Anunnaki? And what Bible do you use and where to get one? Well, I use the original books of the Bible. Portions of it are available now if you go to journeyhomegroup.com, and the Sumerian tablets would have come out of what was already written in Africa, right? The Anunnaki, or these guardian angelicals, they refer to them as Anunnaki. Biblically, they would say Anak in the book of Numbers, chapter 13. You would see puts a noose around one's neck, so you know whose genealogy some of these people who are oppressing us come from, right? The Anaks, the Anakites. But the reality is, this again is about a rites of passage. This is about understanding your story through your lens. Because what happens is we learn things through the lens of the European, and that serves the purpose of the European, right? And so we end up identifying with a story or with a standard of beauty or a standard of education that ultimately was not designed for us. We internalize it, and then now you have depression. See, that energy is neither created or destroyed. So once you take on that oppressive energy, it goes one of two ways. It either goes forward, which means you act out, or it goes in, which means you act in, which means you're depressed, you're suicidal, etc., etc. But you don't have a way to actually expel the energy, or as they would say, exercise. So there must be proper exercises or rituals, which means that they're dependent upon rites that have become sacraments in other churches. You understand? And as you are able to utilize the proper, each ritual corresponds to a particular trauma. Okay? But you would also learn this in rites of passage. You would also learn this, of course, within the Holy Coptic Church of the Black Messiah, where we don't just have, a rite of passage. We have 9 Coptic rites. But let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, you're live. Caller going once.
Hello.
How you doing, man? Thanks for calling.
Hey, sorry I had to call you back.
Go ahead.
I can't do, sometimes I have to call back because it's not really talking about Sparky talking with Sparky.
Mm-hmm.
It's about these things. A lot of people call and they complain, but Sparky this and Sparky that and this and that. If we don't tell our stories, it will go unfounded like it been for many years.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of things that we've been talking about King Henry VIII and all them kind of things all through our school life and everything. But we ain't been talking about us Bahamians. And talk about our Bahamians, what we went through from the overpowering of the I could say the white people, the UBPs with Tindlin, all around the different prime ministers, and what we went through.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are getting ready to celebrate another independence.
Mm-hmm.
And we still on the doggone plantation. And we had these black prime ministers told us what the white man did to us, and they keep us on the plantation.
Yeah.
We need to get off the plantation.
Indeed, Sparky, I agree. The only way to get off the plantation is to first recognize that you're on it. So at least you know, but many people don't, unfortunately, know that. This text says, Pastor, does your Bible speak of the good news about Christ's return? It does, in fact. But it speaks about it from the perspective of we as Africans, because we understand that we're not talking merely about a person coming back. We're talking about a consciousness. In the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 6, as a matter of fact, let me pull it up, because we often talk about, we don't talk about the mind of Christ. What is returning is the mind of Christ. The same mentality that the Messiah that walked the earth, this African Messiah, had, is now returning. We're remembering. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 16, for who hath known the mind of the Lord, that he may instruct him? But we have the mind of Christ. See, you could be waiting for, or you could be emulating that which you're waiting for. And you could emulate it so well that that which you're waiting for actually arrives. So stop waiting for someone to come out of the sky to save you. It ain't happening. Nobody is coming to save you that isn't already here. 96.9 Guardian Radio, fresh news, smart talk all day. Back after this.
Up on Amazon for buy something me no need. Same day shipping, you want what this me a pre. Anytime before 10 doorstep delivery. Every 10 minutes check the status of the tracking. Then after that me click continue shopping. Scroll till my week and you know it's no stopping. The algorithm where them get me trapped in is called addiction. Can't control this addiction.
Budgeting and saving? Yes. Investing? Check. But what if you could do more? With an RF brokerage account, you can get priority access to local investment opportunities right as they come to the market. Never miss a bond or new share offering again. Plus, you can house all your investments in one place and benefit from expert investment advice. Contact us at brokerage@rfgroup.com to start doing more today. Some conditions apply. RF, money at work.
Always on the go? Missed the show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
Giant slices, perfectly baked, foldable. Marcos is bringing New York to your neighborhood for just $19.95. Meet the Marcos New Yorker Pizza. Built with Marcos fresh dough, rich sauce, and fresh, never frozen 3-cheese blend. This is pizza the New York way. If you can't fold it, is it really New York style? Go big, fold it, love it. Big slices, big flavor. The New Yorker Pizza, now at Marcos for $19.95. Order now at MarcosPizzaBahamas.com.
At Star General, you can go gold. Comprehensive car insurance covers loss or damage from accidents, fire, theft, and third-party liability. But the Gold package gives you increased coverage for rental car and windscreen, personal accident, medical benefits, deductible waiver, and 24-hour roadside assistance where available. Our Star General Gold package also gives you up to $2,500 for accidental damage to a rental car anywhere in the Bahamas. Go gold with Star General. Insurance made simple.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Can't control this addiction. I forget the next prescription. Gratification is instant.
And we're back here on Guardian Radio today with your host, Dr. Cleveland W. Ennis III, also known as Kahun Anku Sarah. About 42 minutes after 3 o'clock hour. Of course, the talking heads are coming up about the fair of hair and everything associated with it. This text says, our current leaders have simply moved from slave to house Negro to middleman, dressed in all the European finery and mindset. And we keep eating it up. Uncle, good afternoon. Uncle, I heard you say the Sumerians got their teachings from Africa, Egyptians, but we were taught that the Mesopotamian Sumerians were the birthplace of civilization and developed the first system of writing. How do you then qualify that timeline? No, that's actually not the timeline. Evidence shows that all life comes from sub-Saharan Africa, not from Mesopotamia. And we'll do a show on it to, spell it out. I can't unpack it all today. But when Nimrod went into that area and built those 5 cities, he was coming from Ethiopia, right? The first city mentioned in Scripture is Ethiopia. So Mesopotamia definitely was not the first, but definitely, we'll talk about it possibly on Friday. Texas says, okay, I love that answer. The kingdom of heaven is within. That's right, Luke 17:21. Either you're for the heavenly kingdom or you're working for the devil and his kingdom. Amen. Let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, you're live.
Good afternoon, Uncle.
Hey, Cleve, how you doing? Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
I heard you made a comment. I got to call you up on that, man.
Go ahead, man.
I hear you say, I around here waiting for someone to come out of the sky, and you telling me ain't no one coming?
Nope. Scripture. The Scripture don't even teach you that.
In Scripture, man, the sound of Christ, the dead in Christ shall rise and all the other stuff like that, man. That's the good stuff.
If you go to the book of Matthew 27, right, it tells you that there were people who were in their graves who already came up after the Messiah would have been crucified.
So what happened? What happened to the rest of you all who died?
Well, what most people say they're waiting for is a rapture. The rapture is not in Scripture. There's no rapture. That word, that's not in there.
We need to examine this, you see? Mm-hmm. Because, let me show you something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how, no one can convince me that there isn't a place after death for people who did good.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the European concoction of heaven and hell is not, that's not real. But we always...
You said heaven and hell is not true?
Not the European concept, I said.
No.
But heaven and hell, first of all, you have to examine the words. When they talk about the Shemayim in the Hebrew, and they talk about the Amduat place in the earth, right? They talked about these places. You have a place called Shambhala in the earth, where they have actual caverns in the earth. You have places out of this planet's atmosphere that has abodes. You have Pleiades, you have Arcturus, you have Orion, you have Mazzaroth, as talked about in the book of Job 9, verse 9, and the book of Amos. So when we talked about the heavens, we were talking about constellations. We were talking about places. When Jesus said, our Father who art in heaven, that word heaven is the word Oranos or Orion. That's a star constellation. We could go look at it tonight.
Yeah.
You understand?
I go follow up on this, but there has to also be a place for people who live a very wicked life.
I agree.
Oppressing people.
I agree.
Treating people. It has to be a place.
Yeah.
And when you look at the whole spectrum about the world, humans, how they are formed, how we are born, and how this world is constructed, Anku, someone, you just born into this.
Yeah.
Something had to have taken place. I mean, I'll put it like this: it had to be a beginning. Has to be a beginning. It has to be. That's because the world, this thing is set up so deep, and when you think about it, sometimes I just leave it, try to leave it alone,
Yeah.
But when you look at the spectrum of the human race, the world, the sun, the moon, some framework, something has to set this thing up. Life itself, you can't bring it back once it's gone.
Right.
It has to be. It has to be a bigger element out there somewhere who is responsible for all of it.
Yeah, I agree. There's a grand architect of the universe.
I'm searching and hoping that. But one day, I want you to talk. I want you to speak on this. I think it's in the book of James 2, it may be 19. Then it speaks. It might be. I could be off. But the point I'm trying to make is, then how should I how should I put it? When you speak about, but I kind of lost my friend on that.
No problem.
I can try to remember it, and I can bring it back because I have to. Then before he ascended into heaven, he spoke about men, us, being able to do greater things than he did.
Yeah, that was John 14, I think, verse 12.
And when he spoke about it, when you look at the work that he would have done, even though some may question it, give sight to the blind, heal the sick, raise the dead, etc., etc. He did some powerful work. And I'm trying to figure out, I'm searching and still trying to figure out exactly what is this work that we are able to do that is greater than what Christ did. Maybe you could expound on that one day.
Sure.
And enlighten me. But I asked a couple of pastors today, they didn't really give me any.
But we possibly will dive into it on Friday. Yeah, man. I said we'll possibly dive into it on Friday.
I would like to explore those greater ways.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. Yeah, man. This texter says, again, you keep referring to Africa or African as our identity, yet you can't see why Bahamian is from the European. No, I do understand that, texter. But please understand also, texter, that most what we refer to as Africans in Africa, they don't call themselves Africans. They just know their tribe. They're Ashanti, they're Yoruba, they're Iwe, they're Zulu. They don't walk around saying we Africans. I mean, now, because of social media, or to explain to people who are not from the continent, but I've heard Africans say, hey, I didn't know I was African till I left the continent, till I came to North America, to Canada, to the United States. That's when I learned I was African. They didn't know that. So I appreciate your point, but it's not, as black and white as that. All right? So we're talking the fair of hair. Got about 10 minutes left in the show. And one of the things that these ancient Africans understood about hair, right? Beyond daily life, beyond how you look, right? For example, this lock of Khonsu that we were talking about, it held immense power in the ancient Egyptian journey to the afterlife. Like Cleaver was saying, there gotta be someplace you're going if you did well. There gotta be someplace you're going if you did bad. That place you're going to is based upon the science of consequence, or the principle of consequence. We won't unpack it today, but that's an actual science, the science of consequences. My grandmother taught me, as she taught my father, as her father taught her, in life there are no punishments or rewards. You simply suffer or enjoy the consequences of your actions. So based on your actions, that would determine your heaven and your seed. What position did you leave your children in? You understand? We have a very individualistic way of looking at ourselves, but you're not just yourself. If your body is the temple, what is it the temple of? It's the temple of your genetics. It's the temple of your DNA, your RNA, your chromosomes. You're not just this individual. You are literally an embodiment of your lineage. And your actions are going to determine how your lineage lives. So the European will talk about the magic of hair. Caller, you could just call back the producer. You'll get the call in just a second, right? Egyptians viewed hair as highly potent and magical. Now, they're saying Egyptians, that's a Greek word, Aegyptos. But the Tamoreans, we understand the alchemy, right? The funerary texts, such as the coffin text, reveal the deceased would mentally assimilate themselves, they say, with Khunsu, ensuring that a person's symbolic side remained intact in the tomb drawings meant their soul could achieve constant renovation. We ultimately wanted to be remembered. That's why you could still call on Khunsu's name today. That's why you could still call on Aset name today, Asaru, right? Nebtut, and all the other names that many of us today may not remember or know about because we just weren't taught it. But they are on the walls. You understand? And so the reality of what we did has to be explained by us, by those of us, the passage, who went through the proper initiations to understand what these things actually mean. All right, we got time for a couple more calls. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, the Family Violence, 242-300-5720. And, of course, the text line is still open, 422-4796. This text says, it takes a village to raise a child. It could also take a village to judge a single mother. Wow. And stone her to death. And often do in the Bahamas. Wow. This is why some women are giving up. You have the hateful father, his friends, family, and co-workers hating on you, complete strangers plotting on you, calling themselves the humble police. There are so many misguided people, it's crazy and dangerous now. And Dexter, I definitely feel you on that. But this is why we need community. Most of the judging, quote unquote, judging, is really based on the morals of a culturalist society. The same people who, quote unquote, judging you, and this is what the Messiah encountered. They brought the woman, they say, oh, she was caught in an act of adultery and we need to stone her. And he said, all right, he without sin cast the first stone. Because he knew what day and time he was in. He was under the occupation of the Greco-Romans, and their societies are lewd. Right? They stray away from divine order. And so once you stray away from divine order, as a society, that eventually is going to trickle down to the community. And that's what we have in our community today. Because we refuse to acknowledge the reality of where Scripture actually has come from and where we as African people have actually come from. You understand? Society continues to get worse. We continue to put Band-Aids on it. But it will not get better until we remember. Until you remember. Until you become a member of the mind of Christ. Caressed. Caller, you're live here on Guardian Radio.
Yeah, good afternoon, Uncle.
Yes, 52.
I just chime in and say it was a great show, but, I only caught about half an hour of it for the first hour, and then I came back and caught maybe about 15 minutes in. But I think you started talking about fear of here. I started to laugh and all of that, right?
Yeah.
As Uncle knew, I had a cat and the children somewhere, but, I was going to chime in. But I just wanted to say this, right? Mm-hmm. Intuitively, because I'm an ignoramus, right? I never used to my father used to grab the little comb and try to comb my Afrocentric hair, right?
Yeah.
And it always used to hurt my brothers to laugh at me because I have the Afro kinky type, because you could see from my son. So I never fall in love with the comb, but as it relates to all of this about hair and all that, I read, you stop combing your hair and people look at you as if, it's a profile automatically, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's really not that you don't care, it's just to show the lack of conformity. It's like putting your shirt in your pants back in the day, like I've told you. Blatantly, I hate it. I don't know why and where these things came from.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember the reggae song, Throw Away Your Comb, Scissors and Warm,
Mm-hmm.
Paul and Warm, Paul and Fire. You know what I mean? You remember them songs,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I throw away my comb a long time, but, I saying is, combing your hair is basically conformity, I mean, you're just doing it because other people say, well, your parents say, oh, the back in the days, and you go to church and boy, they red and you have to be comb, because my Afro kinky hair, sometimes my half comb, and they pat it down, and when the old man grabbed that comb, he threw the water. On the comb, he ain't throwing it in my ear, and my brothers, them laughing because my ear was the thickest one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is what it is. Everything is basically conformity. I just wanted to share that. And that's really what it is. You're doing it because other people are doing it, and the person that grows the locks, even though find the origins of it, maybe the Nazarene vow, right? I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about it today, and I
missed it. I'm sorry. But,
no worries. I'll send it to you.
But it's basically conformity. Great show, then. Give thanks.
Yes, indeed. without a proper context, then yes, conformity will definitely rule. But we have to contextualize what it is we're doing. This text says, my question is why the man was in stone too, and how and why did the children of Israel keep a record of their genealogy, and how did the Egyptians know who to enslave when they most likely mixed races over the years? Yeah. Well, what happened in many instances? First of all, all of them, genealogy was important to them, but the Greeks and the Romans have done such a great job that who you think are the Africans are really the Greeks. Who you think are the Jews are really the Greeks. And who you think are the pagans, or they'll say the Africans are the pagans, but we are the royalty in Scripture, when we look at the original books of the Bible. But that's why we do the shows on Friday to tap into that. So we'll possibly tap into that. Also, when Friday coming, this text says the judging is based on rumors and gossip and looks and mostly from someone who actually did you wrong but wants others to make their side. But we need to come together. Stop judging each other by look and physical features because the government is destroying us. I can't see Americans being treated like this. Haircuts and poison sprayed as you walk down the street. I see nothing but lawsuits. The government saying, I wouldn't say America is the model. America is like anything goes. So that can't be the model, right? But I've appreciated the calls, the texts, those who were listening and were telepathically sending me messages. I tried to get your messages too. Got to thank my producer, Mr. Penniman, today. Of course, it's 4 o'clock, so who's up next? Naughty and MJ, the Talking Heads. Keep it locked here, 96.9. Guardian Radio, fresh news, smart talk all day. Again, my name is Pastor Dr. Cleveland W. Aeneas III, also known as Trey, also known as Kahun Ankusara.